Some of you might like to know a little bit more about our drummer.
Now going back to 40 years of Chick Webb.
Is drummer right? Is it okay to say drummer?
Pounding his pulsing beat into the hearts of all America.
You motherfuckers are fucking all over this joint.
You do your kind of drumming, and I'll do my kind of drumming.
I have no more time. You don't know what I love to do.
The only things I care about in this goddamn life are me and my drums and you.
The official explanation was he choked on vomit.
You suppose maybe I could put the drums in your place and sort of drop in once in a while?
Now back to Gene Krupa's syncopated style shortly.
Get up there behind those drums, lean back, close your eyes, get right in the groove there, give it a good steady beat.
I got blisters on my fingers!
I'd hit that.
This episode of I'd Hit That is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website or online portfolio. For a free trial and 10% off your first purchase, go to squarespace.com. Use the offer code DRUMS. That's right, folks, we got our own promo code. 10% off, squarespace.com. Use the promo code DRUMS.
Yeah, we can
I'm
do
in
that.
North Hollywood with Panos.
Right on.
Good to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for having me on.
We're in Toss's home studio, which is incredible. He was telling me about it. You've been here how long again?
I've been here in this house converted studio, and maybe it's 26 and a half years. July 27th, 1987. Yeah, that was the move-in date, and shortly afterwards, I converted the two-car garage to a place where I could, make a lot of noise and basically work on my craft, and because I knew that you had to have, as a drummer, you had to have a place to do that, and so I was lucky enough, I had some money saved up from a Japanese pop record that I, subbed on. I mean, the drummer just was, the guy was in the band. He was a band member and didn't cut it. So we're talking like 1986 or something. And so I was like sitting around in this, lounge at Fidelity Studios, which is like a Moore Park and Colfax, I think. And, I got paid in cash. I got I think it was $8,000 back. And so
did you fly to Japan?
No, it was all done here, but the drummer did not cut. He didn't make it. He couldn't play to a click, and he couldn't read and all this stuff. So
was it the producer who knew you?
Jerry Napier was his name. He was an engineer, old school engineer. He had worked with Keltner a bunch, and he took a liking to me, and he was producing these other guys, and I forget their names, but it was it was a pop thing, and he brought me into this. He said, yeah, you'd be great for this. Just hang out in the lobby, and we got to give this guy a shot, and if he doesn't cut it, then we have to find a way diplomatically to let him know he's cut.
You were literally waiting.
I waited for a week.
But you were in the wing, literally there.
I would show up at 10 a.m. and wait, and go home, come back, and wait till 5. So I would.
Were you listening? Were you?
No, I mean, it was, they were secluded, sequestered, basically, so I was...
were you paid for those days?
Yeah. So, and that's when I realized, this is pretty neat, the studio thing is a cool thing to get into, but of course, playing would have been the thing, but sitting around was a drag. But that day did come, and I went in and cut the whole record in 2 days, and I got all this money, and I was like, oh wow, that's a lot of dough. And my father at the time said, you have to buy real estate, and God rest his soul, my dad passed away 3 years ago, but he doubled up the money, and I think I had about 10 grand, and so at the time we got this place, and I was freaked out. I didn't know how I would make mortgage payments as a drummer at that time, and things have a funny way of working out. I had gone to MI, Musicians Institute, in 1985 and studied with Joe Porcaro and Ralph Humphrey and Efren Toro and Steve Houghton. And it kicked my ass. It was the best year of my life. But, so I went back to the school and they were moving from the small building to this massive complex across the street off of Highland and McFadden Place, and I got a job teaching. So like within a week of having this house, they gave me a gig teaching. I knew nothing about teaching. I graduated maybe a year prior to that, so anyway, I was thrown in the fire, and it was awesome, man. I was hanging out with these legends and picking their brain and basically going to school again while I'd get these, private, I was assigned private lessons, So I started, in a little cubicle teaching, rudiments and stuff that, again, I had just learned because I didn't have that background at all. But I got it together, and so I had a gig, and I could, I could make payments on this house. I also filled all the bedrooms with teachers, drum teachers. Paul Stuber, Bobby Gabriel, Phil Rowley was one guy. Ray Frisbee was another guy. I had probably 15 different people live here, for about 12 years. So I didn't have any privacy. I had never been to a college, so this was, you can imagine the stuff that happened here. But a lot of it was all about music. From the time you woke up, somebody was shedding, somebody was working on something. So I, for years, I'd be in the courtyard out here with one of the guys, and hey, what are you working on, man? Oh, I'm doing this Latin thing, and or I'm doing this heavy metal thing, or I'm doing this bebop thing, and so I had access to, or I'm doing this funk thing. And one guy was really into, Dick Garibaldi, and so, this place is responsible for me having a career. This house. Period. I mean,
the hangs.
This, and I would say Joe Porcaro giving me that job there, and of course, in those days, I think we had this service called MCS, Musicians Contact Service, and you would call them, and you'd get a machine. They go, well, today, January 20th, this was, they would recruit musicians for gigs. There's today on the 27th, we have a cruise ship gig for you. It pays $350 a week. You can't talk to anybody on the and so you'd find gigs there too. Other than that, so anyway, so you would call this, you'd call some kind of tape machine, and then they'd call your tape machine, and they'd give you a list of the gigs that are going on, on the menu. This week is, like I said, a cruise ship gig, or there's an Armenian gig in Chatsworth that pays $75, and this is how we networked.
How would you claim a gig like that? I mean, just for an example, the cruise ship gig. If you heard that and I want that.
Yeah, you'd have to have a resume together, your photo, and a business card, and you would send it, snail mail, into their service, and then they'd call you if there was an audition.
Okay.
And I don't think in those. I think today, I don't know how many drummers are in LA, but it can't be. I mean, what is it? Do you know? Is it 10,000 drummers in LA that are working? I don't know, but I think maybe 2,000 guys were working back then. Yeah. It wasn't the same deal. I mean, so it was easier to get gigs if you could play. Anyway, I'm going to jump forward to, that's how we looked for gigs, and all that stuff was actually through the school as well, through MI. And so you were teaching there, and you could see all this, you see the bulletin board and call this number. But Joe Porcaro recommended me for my first big gig, really. And he recommended, I think, 6 drummers. and it was for a band called Toy Matinee, produced by Pat Leonard and Kevin Gilbert, and Kevin's gone too.
Was this post Madonna or
post Madonna? And Kevin was also a writer on some of the early Madonna stuff. He was 23 at the time, and maybe he's 26.
And you're how old at this point?
Right today?
No, I mean at that point.
At that point, 22, 20, yeah. 23, 24 actually. So, about 24. And so I auditioned for Kevin Gilbert and Toy Matinee, and I got the gig. The record had been done already, so I didn't listen to the radio, but at that time. But I came home and I told some of the guys living here, "Hey man, I got this audition. You know this band?" They're like, "Dude, they're all over the radio. They got an MTV video out, and so because I was about to turn the gig down when I got to the audition. I didn't even want to take my drums up the stairs to play. I go, I sent you a video. Wasn't that good enough?" And they actually said, "Yeah, it was actually really good." I'd sent them this video of some prog rock thing I had done, and Kevin was like, "Dude, that shit is fucking awesome, man. You don't have to bring your drums up these stairs. You got the gig." So the next thing you know, I was in a rehearsal, and then Sheryl Crow joins the band before she was Sheryl Crow. She was a great background singer. She'd worked with Michael Jackson and a bunch of people, maybe Dylan, Clapton. She was just an LA chick that, could sing. And so anyway, this was the band. Sheryl Crow, Kevin, Mark Bonilla, Spencer Campbell was the touring band. And Pat Leonard opted out. He didn't want to do it. So we went and, we did like 2 months or something. And that just opened, again, I'm just going back to what Joe Porcaro really did. And I know, I listened to your program, and I heard Lukey talk about the Porcaros and how they help people, and sometimes you wouldn't even know it was them that you didn't know they were responsible for your success or your stock going up, but that's how it worked. They took your back, the Joe, and then I had met Jeff at one point back then too. He was awesome, Did
you get to hang with him?
Yeah, we hung. This Toy Matinee thing would do this KLOS Christmas special for a couple years in a row, and it was at 6 a.m. and I remember going to it and setting up my drums the day before, and Jeff shows up, and he's setting up his drums. Keltner shows up, his drums are set up, so I was freaking out. This is great. This is how this is where my life is going. Anyway, the next day it's a 6 a.m. call, and we show up and we play, and then Jeff comes out, and I think he's like the house drummer, and he's playing for Melissa Manchester and maybe Dwight Yoakam. But I think, do you know Matt Logg?
Yeah.
Matt Logg's a great drummer. He we were friends at that time, and he was there with somebody, or maybe he was just hanging out, and Jeff called us over. Jeff was playing live on air, and Jeff called us over. "Hey man, get over here, man. I got a leak. I got to take a leak. This is during the show. One of you guys got to play. Somebody's got to play." So we're like, "What the fuck do we do?" No, I don't want to sit in on Jeff's drums, and I don't think Matt wanted to do it, but we kind of crawled over to his floor tom, and he was playing the show and going, "Come on, man, you pussies! You guys got to just jump in here. I got to fucking take a leak, And we're just flipping out because now we're sitting next to the floor tom, and and you're listening to Jeff Porcaro, and I remember he had stereo ashtrays. I mean, he had an ashtray by the hi-hat and one behind the floor tom, because he would smoke cigarettes, maybe even weed. I don't know. I don't remember that, but it was great. It was awesome. I had, so I'm losing.
So he's saying, "Come on, get up here."
We didn't do it.
You didn't do it.
No. Yeah, I think he was pissed about it. But he actually got up and split at one point because Keltner. That's what it was. Keltner just sat down on his drums and played with the next act. That's what it was. But okay. Jeff looked at us like a bunch of peons at that point. You guys have no balls.
That was your moment.
Yeah, it was pretty early on. I think I may do the same thing today. Like, I don't like sitting in. You know, I have a super strange...
Does that happen to you where you're out and guys are like, hey,
oh,
man?
yeah.
All the time?
All the time.
And you say no?
I say no. I used to do it, and it didn't benefit the audience, it didn't benefit the band, and it didn't benefit me. Because I can't play other people's shit. I just can't.
The setup, you mean?
The setup.
Right.
It's totally strange. My pedals are real close together. My hi-hats are into the first tom. There's like no space. I don't, you know, my hands aren't crossed over. Yeah. So my right hand is forward of my left hand, and in front of it, basically because I've been playing traditional so many years that the only way I could get a super loud backbeat is to not have the hands crossed. So I'm open like that. It looks weird, but I can play heavy rock stuff like that. Yeah. Anyway, nobody really sets up like that. Mm-hmm. And
so is that the main reason you don't do it?
Yeah, that is that, and just. Yeah, I mean, just the angle of the snare, and if sometimes they don't like you to touch it. But that's the freakiest thing, is where the hi-hat is in proximity to the tom.
Right.
And I can't do it. I've tried to do it. I've even set up here many times. You got to get over this, dude. Just set up a different way. And that's the interesting thing about playing drums. There is no right way to do it.
No.
And if that's the way you get it done, just leave it there. So anyway. Got off on a tangent. Sorry,
no, it's a good tangent. Jeff Porcaro story.
Jeff, yeah. And, yeah, so, all this stuff went down.
So you're saying also the house, though. You were saying, like, the hang. The idea that all these guys were coming here. Toss was telling me earlier, like, it's like 7 minutes from the baked potato.
Yep.
So after a gig, just come back here.
Yeah.
Hang.
Once you got to a point where you could play the baked potato, I mean, the baked potato was sacred ground. The high priests of drumming were there. Like, you would see Gad, you would see Jeff. I saw Vinny countless times. I'm missing so many guys, but forgetting. Anyway, you'd see that caliber of guy. In that little den of a club, you wouldn't think much of it until you actually got your chance to play there, and it was like, what the fuck? This is like, I'm scared to death now. Now, everybody's right on you. It's, and I've played for 140,000 people, 20,000 people, never a nerve, but the Spud is crazy like that. And also knowing you had seen those guys, So when you got your opportunity, mine was in 1990. I started playing 90. Is that correct? Yeah, maybe 1990. I started playing the baked potato.
Were you going to jams there before?
No. Again, I wouldn't do the jam thing because you'd have to sit in.
Oh, right. Back to that.
Yeah. No, I was there with my good friend Jimmy Malis and Doug Lunn and Albert Wing, and we had a band called Water Noise. And it was a really cool group, and Satnam Ramgotra was in the band too. A great tabla player, great drummer, and so we started playing there, and then at that point, people started hearing it. Would see you and go, like Landau was into it, and Mike Landau, and he was real into it. And Bob Bradshaw, a good friend of mine, and that was kind of my way into the Spud, being part of the elite. That's how I felt. Oh, I'm in with these guys now. And and so again, but that was like, you had something to work for in town, not just, you could never get complacent. Like, even if you got a studio career or a touring career, you lived in fear of coming back to somebody calling you to play the baked potato for playing for 80 people, and it would be real music, and it would be hard. It would be a challenge.
And everyone in the audience knows.
Yeah, and you felt like if you fuck up at the baked potato, the word's going to get out. You may not get another shot to do something in L.A.
So that was the scariest gig.
It always is. I'm still playing. I'm playing twice next month. Playing with Lukather and Babko and Jürgen Carlson, and I'm playing with my trio, the Machlis Panos project, and this is with Jimmy Malis, Machlis, and this is and Kave is playing bass from Kneebody. Usually it's Dan Lutz, but But yeah, we work for these little gigs. You wouldn't think much of it. They pay $20, $50, maybe minus that. But that's what's, we always have the baked potato, or you have Blue Whale now. That's a big deal. But it's real important to sound good. You have a responsibility to sound good. That's the bottom line. It takes away all the pressure of worrying about money and things like that, because it's hard to sound good, So it takes work, and you have to do it every day. And that's, again, I feel like this house has always provided that for me. It's inspiring here, and I have a ton of memories here, So every time I think about selling it, I feel ashamed. Like, man, just hang on to it. It's why you have a career.
You were saying that before. You are thinking of splitting.
I was thinking of splitting and keeping it, but...
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it's a trip. Shit costs too much money. Houses cost... I would make a lateral move for $1 million. 1.2 mil. Who needs that? Who needs that? I mean, if you want to change your environment, you just take a little vacation. You just drive to Santa Barbara. Drive to Ojai. Yeah. Yeah.
So you were doing the thing you were saying about, okay, so
yeah.
you got the house, you're teaching at MI, you had the Japanese gig. Because of all this stuff you're saying, you're meeting people, just work begets work, that kind of thing?
Yeah.
From the people you're hanging with. And...
Yeah, like, I think I would take 4 or 5 different gigs a week. And they would be gigs that I probably would not take today, but... in fact, I know I wouldn't, but I would take...
Are we talking wedding gigs and...
Greek wedding gigs. Persian gigs in clubs. Country gigs in Orange County. Pop rock, top 40 gigs in Lake Arrowhead or Riverside County. This is like 4 or 5 nights a week.
Mm-hmm.
Would do this, come back at 3 a.m, wake up, teach at MI. I think it was 1 or 2 days a week. And then practice and repeat, and would do this, teach privately sometimes, and then do the occasional record, the demo, and man, and you network like that, and there were a lot of great players that were just looking to, they were hungry, looking to play, and then of course starting your own band, and just so you can play the baked potato, which we did in those days. And then the baked potato, you just met all these great guys like Jeff Babko and Mike Elizondo, David Goldblatt, Doug Lunn. In those days, it was just like, and everybody was hungry. John DeVersa. We just we were playing 4 or 5 days a week. A lot of us would just go out and do anything, just to stay alive and just to grow. We were tireless like that. Yeah. And we'd come back and watch VHS tapes of, Miles or Tony or Monk or Elvin, And then, of course, we had Catalina Bar and Grill, the old Catalina, and you would see so much beautiful shit come through there. We'd see Elvin. I'd sit right up front and get, hear Elvin grunt and get all the sweat on me. I'd see Bill Stewart. I saw Tony, I don't know how many times. I saw Max Roach back. I saw Art, Roy Haynes, Dennis Chambers in those days, Steve Jordan, and then, I met my, one of my closest friends today, Zigaboo Modaliste from the Meters, and I used to go to this club on Monday nights, St. Mark's in Venice, and Casey Sherrill, this great drummer, teacher, said, you got to go check out this guy Zig. And I'd gone down to the St. Mark's on a Monday with my friend Gary Garbatini, who also taught at the school, and we flipped out, and we had seen the light. There it is. That's how you want to play drums, like that. We were all into Weckl and all that stuff in those days, and so
Zig was the revelation.
That's it. It all changed. It was fun. It was like, this drum, he looks like he's having fun. It came from funk in New Orleans and the whole the lifestyle, the way they celebrate death instead of mourn it, the way they danced to everything, the food they ate, and the grooves were so funky and so round, and they had their one-sided clave, and I just took to it, and Zig and I became really close friends. We're still friends.
Did you just go up to him?
Yeah, I just went up to him and he's like, "Hey, Tas," he would like to say my name, "Hey, Tassamano," He let me sit in, and I actually sat in. I sat in. That music, it was just like, well, I think I can do this. I have a Greek background, of course, so a lot of the rhythms felt, especially the 4/4 rhythms, they had this calypso-y kind of sirto vibe, which is, that's the rhythm that I can say is similar to some of the second line Mardi Gras stuff. So yeah, I sat in, and he thought it was cool, so he let me sub in this band. They were called the Nervous Brothers. Zig's his group was the Nervous Brothers, so, and
you were his sub.
I was his sub, yeah, for like 10 years, and then he split town, and I did a lot of those gigs with Eddie Betos and those guys. It was fun, man. Nick Lane, and sometimes you get the Tower of Power horn section, and just some characters, funny hangs, and just fun. So music became fun again, and because it was a point where everybody was getting really, it's got to be to a click, and it's, and this limb has to do that, and it's like, oh man, it was just like too anal. And I discovered, from hearing Zig, and then kind of going backwards, getting into Elvin and Tony and Jack DeJohnette, man, they all play the same way. They have a style, and because they don't play to click tracks. And I think the click robs, I think playing to a click every day and on every session, I think you're robbing somebody's style, personality. You're taking away the thumbprint that we all have that's ours. Mine's different from yours, and no one else in the world has it. I mean, you've heard all this stuff before, but I've thought about it, and every time I hear me to a click, and I can play to loops and clicks, and I have done, and I've done it live, I've done it in the studio. It's cool. I understand why it needs to happen, but it really robs you of your voice, and it's robbed a lot of people from sounding awesome. People that just today, when you saw the Grammys the other day, I mean, how many people just sound like, they sound like themselves. Well, that's very unique. Unique is gone anymore. I really think it comes from that, and I could be wrong, but that's where I'm going with this.
Is that something you push for in a recording?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, let's rehearse it to a click, but when it's time to take it, let's dump it. Let's dump it. When it's time to actually go for a take, let's dump it. No click. Feels awesome.
And usually you get that way, right?
Yeah. At this level, you don't need it all the time. I want to feel an ebb and flow. I want to be able to control that. It's super important to do that to a piece of music, I think.
Yeah, it moves.
You have to have that. It's just it's alive. It's anyway. Yeah. I don't want to go off on it too much.
No, there's no point. I mean, you wanted to do, at that point, 24, 25, you're thinking, I like this, I want to get more into the session world, the studio world, or were you thinking?
All of it.
All of it.
Yeah. I was like, and then what happens is it chooses you. So, and then you get pigeonholed.
We talked about that earlier too. Before we
yeah. So
about
like, well, what happens?
Typecasting.
Yeah, I mean, basically, if you're just I'm doing this toy matinee gig, so I had already seen a little bit of the like having a limo and being on MTV and playing with really great players, playing great pop music.
So you had a taste of.
I had a taste of it. I went, this is cool. I already knew it wasn't going to last forever. And so, I'm not a songwriter, so at least not today. And I always figured you have to play as much You have to play as much, music as you can. And that was my way of contributing, staying active and staying interested. So, what happens is you get a gig and it pays good and it challenges you. You do it. All of a sudden people think that's all you do. So I'm going back to the guitar guys now, and it started with, after the Toy Matinee gig, I had met Mike Keneally, who played with Zappa. He was just one of the great genius people that I know. And I'd met him through Mark Bonilla, and who was in that band in the Toy Matinee thing. And so we did this little thing, and this is guitar based. And from there, Dweezil Zappa, I started doing Zappa, Dweezil's record, and he had like 12 guys. He had Bozio and everything. So all of a sudden I'm doing guitar guys. From there, Steve Vai calls because of Scott Tunis, the bass player, who I'd met on Dweezil's thing. So here I am doing all these guitar guys, and frankly, it wasn't my thing, except the Keneally thing I enjoyed a lot. But I didn't feel I was the right guy ever for the Vi thing. I didn't play that way. I learned how to do it. I had 3 days to learn how to do it because Bozio had quit, and then Abe Jr. was doing it, and they were on the road, and Abe wanted out.
Did you talk to Abe at that point?
No, I didn't. I mean, I had seen Abe around. He was about 21, and he knocked me out. He was so fucking great, but no, it was kind of a secret. Even though he wanted to quit, they said they called and said, we hear you can do this gig. You got 3 days to learn 25 songs. You want to do it? We're in the middle of a tour. It'd be a little weird if Abe knew you were standing in the wings, check it out, even though he wants out. So I flew somewhere, I don't remember where, I flew to the Midwest one time, came home, flew back 2 days later to New York, and they gave me the gig. So I had shed in this next room, all those songs. I think I shed 15 hours every day.
You had 3 days.
3 days.
And one of those days you flew to catch a show?
Yeah. Yep. But I had all these charts I had made out. I'd learned how to write charts.
Were you backstage or in the audience?
It was in the audience. It scared the shit out of me. And when I remember,
what were you thinking at that? Were you like, oh, fuck, this is...
Yeah, I can't do this.
You were thinking that?
Basically because of the volume. Like, I never considered myself a great loud drummer.
Heavy hitting.
I mean, I get a big tone. I get a fat, big tone.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't so much the issue.
But
was it?
But people used to look at you and go, well, what's with that traditional grip?
Yeah.
Even though Stuart Copeland played traditional,
sure.
He was loud as shit. I was loud as shit, believe it or not. I could hit a drum.
Plus you were mic'd up, right?
Yeah, but that's not how it worked back then. Vi wanted to see it. He didn't have any monitors he didn't have any drums in the monitors. He had guitar in the side fills. He had guitar in his wedges. He had guitar in the house, of course. And he made sure I had guitar. So it was, drums were nowhere, so I was nervous doing that at that time, I did it though. I did it for about 4 months. I did a world tour with him, and he busted my balls every day. But
about what?
About that, like hit those fucking things. And I go, dude. At one point, I got in his face and I said, "We'll put some drums in your monitors, man. Drop your fucking ego. Like, what's up with this shit?"
And did he?
Yeah,
he did.
He did. And the front house guy, Big Mick Hughes, who was with Metallica, said, "Yeah, you got to fucking tell this guy, your drums are bullocking out front, mate. You got to put the drums tell him to put drums. In fact, I'll go over there and do it myself." So he got up on stage. We were opening for Aerosmith for about 2 weeks, and those were my first gigs with Vi. And talk about like being thrown into the fire, And the songs were like 12 minutes long. So you can imagine, it was like a ton of shit to remember. And you couldn't take charts on stage. So you had to commit it to memory. It was a rock show. You can be out there reading like you're playing it.
Did you ever get to the point of hanging or not really? With Vi?
Yeah, in Japan. When we came home for Christmas, we went back to Japan, and I practiced all through Christmas break and all that shit. And I nailed it in Japan. I was hitting super hard. My double bass stuff got really good. I was playing about 8 toms. I I play one tom up on top, maybe 2 floors. That's it. And I consider myself, I grew up with Charlie Watts and Ringo and Bonham. I definitely didn't come from jazz. And I grew up with the Ohio players and James Brown and those kind of things, those kind of drummers. So everyone, all those guys I mentioned, they got a big sound. So no one's ever said hit hard again. After that Vi gig, that's it,
Did it end on good terms, or?
I mean,
not the easiest guy, right?
I just knew I wasn't the right guy. I didn't want to do it. I don't think he wanted me there anymore, but I didn't really want to do it. And I knew I was being typecast at the same time. You're playing with fusion, rock fusion guitar players. I auditioned for Satriani after that because he wanted me to come out. Super sweet guy.
Was that after Mover? Or is that...
After Mover.
Yeah.
And I didn't learn any of the music, which is not like me at all. I just didn't want the gig. But I flew to San Francisco. Yeah. I think Stu Ham was on the plane. And
you jammed.
We jammed, and he was great, and he gave the gig to his keyboardist, Jeff something, I forget his name. So he already had another drummer in mind, which is great. It's great for me, I got out of that for a minute. And then I'm playing, next thing you know, I'm playing with Mike Landau here in town, who is a great, studio musician, but he's just a great guitar player. And we had a real thing for a while, for about 9 years. Jimmy Johnson played bass, the great Jimmy Johnson, Landau, and myself. And we had, we made 2 live records. I did a studio record with Mike, and we did a slew of gigs. And that was a really great. The chemistry was great, and the hangs were really cool. I think that's why we made some really, special music, because we could hang and listen to the same music and pontificate. So we were kind of locked at the hip for a while. Things changed. Shit changes. You move on. Again, there's this thing looming over me, when are you going to stop doing these guitar gigs? And I think I have now. Well, I did Robin Ford for 9 years as well, actually longer. But at least, there's music in these guys,
Plus, I'm sure you get along really well with Robin Ford.
But I mean, Robin's a great musician. He's just fucking amazing.
But I'm saying at your point, at your level now, it's like the hang.
Yeah,
kind of comes first.
Yeah, you have to respect people too. And after being out with Vi in those days, I didn't,
Yeah.
I liked Stevie Ray Vaughan. I liked Hendrix. I liked guys that could play rhythm. Eddie Van Halen, rhythm. And I didn't like playing with Vi because he was too loud, and I didn't like the way he played rhythm. The solos were on fire, and he was a dictator. He would tell you exactly which tom to play, and that shit gets old, man. So I went, that's not the kind of player I am, and I don't want to be around that anymore. Well, opposite, John, Robin is the complete, I was a Robin Ford freak as a kid. When I saw Robin with Vinny back in the day at my place, that was the club. Robin plays, there's melody in every solo. There's a reason for everything he does. There's taste, and there's great rhythm. And killing sound, and a sense of humor, the whole thing. So I didn't mind that. I was lucky to get that gig, and Mike Landau was the same way. I just felt these guys understand music, and it's selfless, Whereas Vi was just consumed, and that's cool.
But
he's guys like Mike Mangini, they're made for that shit. I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Because it was also pushing you further from that zig thing you were talking about, obviously.
Absolutely, great point. So I was already heading, and I was really getting into Elvin, spiritually. This is what I want to, this is what I want to come out. This is the information I want to, to leave, my fingers and go through the drums and come out to people. I wanted that feel. I want it, and it's actually in me anyway. That's the way I live my life. I don't know if I should get into that too much, but I like to cook and drink and and enjoy life. You know,
would you credit a lot of that to the European Greek background? Would you say?
I think we're just crazy. A lot of us drummers are, and and maybe there's that. Yeah, I spent a lot of time in Greece. With my dad and his friends back in the day.
Your folks from Greece?
I'm from Greece, too.
Right. But I mean, you're both your parents, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Greek in the house?
Oh, yeah, man. First language.
The only Greek.
That was only Greek for at least 10 years until they got some Greek under their belt. But
or some English, you mean, under...
Sorry, yeah.
How was their English?
Terrible.
Terrible, yeah.
My dad, Dad went to school somewhere in San Diego for a minute to learn English, to become an American citizen, to pass tests, etc. And and he was a successful restaurateur, so he got it together. My mom is great; she's still alive and she's awesome.
How's her English?
It's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay. I kind of like that. It's kind of fucked up.
Right.
I just wouldn't want it to change. So I dig it.
Did you get to a point where when you were young, where you wanted to Americanize, and did you answer in English, or did you go through any kind of phase where you tried to reject?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
You wanted to be American, and
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. My name's Anastasio. My name is Anastasios Panayotopoulos, but it was changed to Anastasios Panos when we got here, and then Tassos Panos. That's the short for Anastasios. But then. I have 5 cousins with the same name, and one of them, who was here early in the 60s, had gone to school with Bill Walton, the basketball player. And Bill Walton had said to him, Tassos, Anastasios, man, that's not going to work. You're going to get shit on your whole life for that. Your name is Tas. So I come to the States. My cousin takes me into class when I'm in 2nd grade, and he goes... He doesn't answer to Anastasios or Tassos anymore. His name is Tas. My cousin had changed my name. Stupid. Because now I'm a tosser.
It's a good name. Come on.
Anyway. Yeah, man. Yeah, you didn't want to be Greek. But later on, fuck no. You definitely didn't want to be.
And then later on,
you got beat up for being Greek.
Around. Yeah, you got beat up for being Greek.
Fuck yeah, man. Like East San Diego, man. I'd play tackle football on the streets of San Diego at 7 a.m. just to prove myself. Tackle football with the brothers and the lowriders, and it's to be on asphalt. So you get all bloodied up and go into class, and if you could hang, and then as soon as the sports and the sport thing came into the picture, and then the drums, then it was over. So, as soon as you could play something like that. I was pretty good in 4th grade, so, then I was left alone.
You got respect.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But still, I didn't want to be Greek.
That's what I was saying.
No,
I get it.
You didn't want to be Greek.
Yeah.
And now, I don't mind it at all, except I'm a little embarrassed. Greeks can't do math, and they invented math. So I don't get it. What the fuck?
Do you have a hard time leaving the tip?
Talking about the same thing?
That's what she said. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right, no, I leave good tips. If we're talking about that tip,
let's
leave
it
tip.
Vague. Let's leave it vague.
I'd hit that just a tip.
This episode is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website or online portfolio. For a free trial and 10% off your first purchase, go to squarespace.com and use the offer code DRUMS, and that's all capital letters. It's easy, I'll tell you that. Squarespace, it's so easy. I mean, I heard at Carmine Apiece, he loves it. I love it. I don't know shit about building websites, and I could figure it out. Everything is drag and drop. If you're really stupid, they have 24/7 support. They're based out of New York City. They do live chat during the week. They got lightning fast email response day and night. Did I mention 24/7? That means New Year's Eve at midnight, you could just hit them up and they'll hit you back. You've been putting off that website thing. You're a drummer, god damn it. You gotta promote. And what's great about this, you can easily connect with Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Instagram, Google, all that shit. They have e-commerce on their platform. So if you want to set up a shop and sell your old crap, that old leady snare drum you've been meaning to unload, Squarespace starts at just $8 a month, includes a free domain name if you sign up for a year. Start a trial today with no credit card required. You can start building your website. When you decide to sign up for Squarespace, make sure to use the offer code DRUMS, again in all caps, to get 10% off your first purchase and to show your support for I'd Hit That. We thank Squarespace for their support of I'd Hit That. Squarespace, everything you need to create an exceptional website. I like this. You have a security cam up here, it looks like.
It's actually my window. Yeah. It's my window into my studio because I don't have an actual window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so, all right, so you were doing that. You were saying before we recorded, you were playing baseball. You were big into sports.
In high school. Junior high and in high school. But
did that ever overtake the drums or no way?
Well, I wouldn't have minded, but high school coaches are assholes. So, if they found out you had another thing going on after practice, I had a couple of jealous high school coaches that were just like,
you're seeing other people, right?
Yeah, my hair was too long, yet they let the stoner surfers have long hair and play baseball. But they weren't cool. So I got a bad taste in my mouth about being anywhere near sports at that time. I don't think I would have gone pro anyway, but yeah, I loved them equally, the two, the drumming and the baseball,
right?
For sure,
right?
Yeah. So you played, right?
I played, yeah. But wait, so we were at you're doing the guitar gigs, you're doing all that stuff, you're saying, and you're getting you feel you're getting pigeonholed.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You had that sense.
Fuck yeah.
And was there something at that point that you wanted to do that you were saying I gotta?
Oh, it's what I do. I still feel one of the things I do best is play songs. Of course, I play them my way, but I play songs. I love lyrics. I love melody. I love deep pockets. I love sounds. And I like simplicity a lot. And it's not because I'm lazy, but I really think there's too much shit going on in music, coming from the drums. I like when music is interactive. That's different than a frontline, backline approach to music where you have some guy up front just telling you how to play, play this in unison with me and lay out here when someone's dictating that. I like jazz, so I like shit to interact. And it interacts in great rock and roll, it interacts in funk. In pop, it doesn't need to interact as much, and I already know how to cut that off. I learned that a long time ago. I felt a lot of people just didn't give me the shot. So I kind of created it on my own. I would do stuff here. I've ended up doing hundreds of records. For people would send me, I'd send a drive here and I'll do a song for Chris Cornell. I did Michael McDonald here. I don't know how much more pop you can get than that. I did Jude Cole back in the day. He was totally pop. Faith Hill. I got on a couple things there. And then I've been working with this guy, Robbie Draco Rosa, for 11 years. And, we just won this Grammy. We won a Latin Grammy earlier, then we won an actual Grammy. And Rosa's definitely the Bob Dylan of Latin America and a great visionary.
And you've toured with him there.
Yeah, I've done all the tours.
Stadiums, right?
Stadiums, and I've done all the tours. I've done all the recordings since Mad Love, since that record, which was 2003.
That must be the best paid touring gig, no? Because of the amount of people.
We're talking dough. I mean, it's people can only pay what they can pay. They have a lot of expenses.
It's not based on playing a stadium?
No.
Okay.
If it was like every night playing a stadium, it would be. But we're not playing stadiums every night. We might play a shed, play a larger club, play stadiums. And, and that's never been that. It's always been respectable. Again, if it turned into like a world tour of just stadiums, yeah, sure. That would change. I'm sure it would change. They would change it even. They would be fair about that. But musically, it's one of my favorite things I've ever done in my life. I think the world of the guy as a singer, as a musician, as a producer, as a friend. He's spiritual, he's soulful, and he's just going to be one of the great cats to have around into our 60s and hopefully into our 70s. Imagine a little bit of Sabbath with some Dylan. And we don't play any Latin grooves or anything. It's a rock pop gig on the sloppier side,
Is he as inscrutable as Dylan? Does he have that personality?
No. I mean, he's definitely a unique character, and he definitely has an opinion about almost anything because he's checked everything out. He's checked out a lot of shit, and he's been around the block. So,
yeah,
he's usually correct. You might wonder, like, how does he know that this part ain't gonna work when we haven't really fully gone through it? And he just hears things. He hears things. I remember, wondering about some hi-hat splash that I was doing in the center of some chorus that, I thought was in the right spot, and he kept saying it's not, man. And so we had to,
as in lined up, or as
no, I was trying to copy
working.
Something I had heard somewhere. It was working, it was just in the wrong spot, and I was like, how could he can't possibly know this because he's not a trained musician. And he did. And so I finally went back to the original recording. Vinny was on that song. So, and he was fucking right. It was in the wrong spot. He's just got great ears.
Yeah.
And, the great thing is, he's one of the only guys that lets me do what I do. If he doesn't like it, he'll say it, but he lets me play the way I play.
Yeah, it's funny because you were saying that before about Vi telling you which time to hit and when and where.
Yeah,
and I thought you were going.
You point to him even.
We all have dealt with that.
You've dealt with that.
Well, I think we all have.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we've all dealt with that.
Of course.
Yeah. But I was feeling that you were going to saying, no one does that to you anymore, and now you're saying he's the only.
Nobody. No, I mean I haven't had that happen in a while. I mean Robin Ford would sometimes just say, man, go to the ride. Just I like the ride.
Right.
Almost all the time. Just that feeling of everything being open.
Yeah.
Behind a vocal.
Right.
Instead of the closed hat thing or whatever. Just something more legato, something more that has a pad to it. That gives them some kind of soundscape. You're coming from the drums. So I can see, even Rosa likes a lot of ride in verses and not punctuating at the end of a phrase, like here comes the chorus, here comes the big crash on one, blow it off, right. That kind of shit. Maybe it just needs a through composed thing with the ride cymbal. So, and I was hip to that a long time ago anyway, so I like that. If they do mention that, I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go there completely.
But if you're doing the pop gig, playing for the song, are you still getting a lot of direction?
Sometimes. It depends on how good my instincts are first time around.
Is a lot of stuff based off a demo?
No, a lot of times not with Rosa. No, it's me, like me and his guitar. Like he might just play something in a room, and we might play duet. We've jammed that way before. Same thing with Robin. When I used to work with Robin, that's how it was.
What about like a Faith Hill thing? If that's,
Well, that was that was a producer, and Vinny was on that whole record, and he had to bail. And Landau had plugged me for it mid-record, and so the chain had been broken, the continuity was broken. The whole record is Vinny at this point. So now let's get Panos in there for 2 days. Byron Gallimore, the producer, did not know who I was. He went on Landau's recommendation, and when I showed up, I remember they were saying, "Hey, we want," and Faith Hill was like, "Yeah, I think we want we want it to be black sounding." She was doing an R&B country thing. And so, of course, my shit sounds pretty black anyway. Meaning, the sound of my drums, first of all, compared to Vinny's, my cymbals, Vinny has a great snap, crackle, pop thing, right? Anyway, sometimes they don't know what they're asking for. So I'm thinking, well, I'm giving you Al Jackson, actually, right now. If you don't hear that, but you're not going to go there, and you have to be diplomatic about it. So you're like, well, okay, let's let's do that. You know, let's go in there and you might make a couple of tweaks or pretend to make tweaks, and we cut the songs, and they're like, yeah, I think that's cool. They ended up firing the engineer at the end of the day, so the tracks were wiped clean. They didn't like the engineer. So I got back a second day, realized the tracks weren't there, took it personally, and I played brushes on the next one. It was like a demo in the room, and the next song, I think I got an old Memorex 2-inch tape box and played brushes while they were, doing the campfire thing, demoing the song, and then they used a loop, and they put the brush thing on top. Mm-hmm. So that was that. I mean, that's how that was done, Right. But yeah, I thought they were going to wipe the brush thing clean because I used it basically to, the whipping post kind of thing, just to keep them together.
Right.
But they used it. They actually used it.
But are you getting more direction from producers or the artist?
Both. In that case, it was both.
Yeah.
And
you ever get conflicting?
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
Well, one guy whispers one thing and then...
Yeah.
What do you do? Who do you lean towards?
Like my friend Kirky B says, I'll tell you what I do, but I'll tell you what Kirky B told me is a good thing, If you're not the right guy, you can just say, or if it's not you, you just say, and you find a nice way to say, let me try this. Let me just be me. So I will definitely, if it's that uncomfortable, first of all, I'll do whatever anybody asks.
Okay.
A few times.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's like that thing where once somebody asks you for a bro rate, will you do this for cheap? Yeah. Once you do it, once you open that up one time, that's it.
They always want the bro
That's
deal.
what it is.
Yeah.
Once you've done that, that's what it's gonna be. It's kind of like that with, you give somebody, okay, here I am, I'm here for you. I'm happy that you like what I do. Let me do what I do. You're gonna get the best me if you don't tell me too much. Otherwise, do it yourself.
Yeah.
And really, and I'm not trying to be an asshole, but I'm not trying to be, prima donna about it, but it's just the truth. I mean, Robin Ford told me a story, when he worked with Steve Jordan on one of his records, Robin was telling Jordan where to go to the ride. He goes, hey man, can you go to the ride? And Jordan just goes, I could, but that's not where I hear it, and so I'm not going to do it. And he's like, Robin's thinking, motherfucker, I'm paying you triple scale. You won't even go to the fucking ride cymbal for me? And then Robin also said to me, after he told me that, he goes, but I kind of got it. I got what he was saying. He's like, you're going to get the best Steve Jordan if you just don't tell us, don't tell him what to do. He's been playing the drums 30 years. I've been playing the drums 30 years. I definitely don't know what's going on all the time, but if you start in with that, oh yeah, he'll do anything you ask. So usually it means they're gonna start telling you a lot of shit, like, that's really cool, but that's a great track. Now let's go back and get bar 2. Keep the hi-hats a little tighter. Maybe hit the drum in the center. The ghost notes, pulling back on that fill, and let me just hear the right hand lead part on the toms, and bury those ghost notes way down so they don't come out. So it gets into that world, and that's kind of a trip.
You've got to cut it short.
You do.
You have to cut it off.
You do.
Yeah.
And when you get older, it's easy to do it.
Right.
Right. Because it's just like, I'd rather be somewhere else.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah.
That's not making music anymore.
Yeah.
And so I guess we only go around once. We only hear once.
Have you had to cut off those producers you were talking about who they want the bro deal? Did you have to clip the cord from them and say adios?
Yeah.
There's been those guys.
It's got to be fair.
Yeah.
But that said, nobody can pay the same anymore. I mean, nobody's buying CDs. Dude, I mean, you try.
Yeah.
I went to buy a computer the other day, like an iMac, a desktop, with a huge screen and everything. I'm like, man, there's no slot for CDs or DVDs. Like, What the fuck?
true, yeah.
Like, I'm an audiophile.
Yeah.
I want to import my old CD.
Yeah.
I mean, none of them do.
Yeah.
None of them have a slot. So let's say you want to import your CDs as a WAV file or an AIFF. You want the full. What I mean?
Well, you got to get the external thing.
No, it's because they're pushing fucking
Right,
iTunes.
Exactly.
They're pushing their MP3 fucking iTunes.
Yep.
You know, 3 labels exist. Reports on how, basically consumers are spending more money on downloads than they did when CDs were around.
Well, fuck it. People just go to YouTube
but
or
it's
Spotify.
Because there's Spotify,
Yeah.
which isn't paying the artists anything.
No.
That shit's bullshit.
No.
So, and what, where do they get these facts that, people are actually spending $120 a month now on downloading MP3s? Really? I can't see them doing that. That's not true. I used to spend $100 a week on CDs, and I'm not the only one. Good sounding product.
Well, at least vinyl keeps growing.
Yeah.
But whatever. It is.
Yeah.
Okay, but how do you navigate the payments and the budgets these days? I mean, how does that work?
Oh, it's a sliding scale.
Everything's sliding.
Oh, yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. I mean, again, if it is one of those rare things where it's a union date. Look, I did the Superman movie with Hans Zimmer, and, I think all the drummers know about it at this point.
Sure.
Because it was Vinny and Keltner. And
how does that come about for you, that call? How does that...
my old friend Satnam, Ram Gotra, he just called me. He works for Hans. I hadn't heard from him in 5 or 6 years, and he's been working with Hans Zimmer as a composer and just doing the drum duties, for Hans's movies. Hans had this idea to do Superman with, I think he was inspired by the Olympic ceremony where maybe there were 1,000 drummers,
right,
something like that, and he wanted that sound. He goes, well, I'm not going to get 1,000 guys, but maybe I can get it with 10 guys. So, of course, Satnam, knowing about all the great drummers in town, says, I'm going to get Vinny, Chamberlain, Keltner, John Robinson, Sheila E.
Kirky B.
Kirky B, of course. Anyway, I was just lucky that I was, my name was thrown into the hat, and Satnam's like, oh man, you were one of my favorites growing up, so I'm plugging you. Like, great. So that's how it works. You show up, and it was the greatest hang. 4 days of like being in the same room with your, even though we're doing a movie and you had to be a pro and do the work, most of it was about checking out Jim Keltner next to you.
Yeah. I was going to ask, did it feel like there was one alpha in the room?
There had to be. Somebody had to have a really loud voice to count off that many dudes, and that would be JR. Oh yeah. Someone with superior time and a loud voice and a
was it
statuesque.
Was it sort of assumed?
Somehow everyone just went. JR, you counted off. Even Vinny. And we all know basically, Kaliuta is the greatest drummer alive today. I mean, overall musician drummer. I think we have our favorites and great song drummers, but Vinny's just like nothing gets by that guy. There's no ceiling ever with Vinny Kaliuta. He can read anything, all that stuff. And it just is an amazing genius of a human being. Period. Not just behind the drums, just any topic. It was just like it was an honor to be around all those cats.
And yet you're saying with those guys, JR.
Jr's like, all right, ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And big loud football voice. That's JR. And it was really cool.
Yeah.
And it worked because everybody could play. Everybody from beat one was like pretty locked.
Yeah.
Kind of amazing. All those people could be locked. And the other amazing thing is nobody played between takes. Drummers are always fucking around and playing licks. Mm-hmm. Almost nobody. A couple cats would always have to bust out some new lick, but not Vinny. Not Hans requested. He goes, please don't play. He's German. He's not English. Scheisse. No drumming. No cymbals. No. Nothing between songs. And we obeyed that and. That was fucking great, man. What a great 4 days.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of photos and a lot of, you know, I just wanted to touch Jim Keltner all the time. Like, man, you know, you've been so inspired, you know, so inspiring to me.
Did you know him at this point? Have you hung with him or no?
Only, I told you about that time with Jeff Porcaro.
Right.
20-something years ago.
So you hadn't hung with him?
Oh, no. And he's been one of my idols. For real. You know, from John Hyatt stuff to Little Village stuff to the Ry Cooder stuff and almost anything I hear Jim, the B.B. King stuff.
Did you get to hang with him after the Superman thing?
Just there.
Okay.
I mean, it was 4 days of it, so it was a lot.
Yeah.
And, you know, and Jim Keltner's busy, so, you know, I'm not going to have him over for dinner. I mean, I don't think he'd come, but but he was really sweet, man. He was you know, like, hey, man, you know, Jim was funny. He's like, hey, Toss, he goes, because we're near each other, you know. The two risers are, you know, I mean, they were filming this, you know, recording this basically in a surround. Mm-hmm. In order for a true surround, you'd have to have 3, 3, 3, and 3 to make a huge square, you know, in order for the surround to work. Mm-hmm. And it was something like 250 mics in the room, crazy. Well, the first 2 days were 10 drummers, so it was 3 and 3, 2 and 2, and so I was next to Keltner, my platform, fucking awesome, you know. And so, like, you know, after one of the takes, Jim's like, you know, he goes, hey, Toss, he goes, man, I wish they had written this shit out. He goes, but then again, I'd have a problem if they had done that too. So he goes, so whatever, you know. I mean. So it was just hard to see, you know, it was hard to see the conductor sometimes because he was like turning to make sure 12 guys could see him.
Oh, Hans wasn't conducting.
He was at the beginning. He goes, oh, fuck that. I'm going behind the scenes, you know, behind the glass. And he got this guy Tom to come out and conduct. And so this guy was doing all the dynamic shifts and would point up a finger which pattern to play. We'd have 2 or 3 patterns per take, and you know, and you'd go up, down, and you know, but when you imagine this, you know, maybe, I don't know, maybe like it's 100, it's definitely a football field away. That's how far away Sheila E. was from me, for example. Yeah. So, you know, so like he's got to conduct her, and meanwhile, you know, Keltner and me are, you know, there's the picture right there.
Yep.
You know,
great black and white photo.
Yeah, you know.
Aerial shot of everyone in the room.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. But anyway, that just, you know, word of mouth.
Word of mouth.
And also a friend, you know. You don't really get gigs auditioning.
No.
Did
you ever do the big auditions? Like, have you ever done anything for a big act and didn't pan out?
A big audition for a big act.
Well, just a story that something that didn't pan out. You didn't get the gig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I'm trying to think. Well, I mean, I think Alanis Morissette was looking for a drummer at one point, and 2 of my friends had recommended me, and I went in the last day of like a 5-day audition thing, and I was the last guy, and they only heard me because of these people that were in her band and then spoke highly of me. So they had already made a choice. They were just trying to hear me. I still felt like, you know, I didn't get that gig. Like it didn't, you know.
Because it just didn't go well, or you thought it went fine?
Yeah, I thought it went fine. They, you know, maybe I was too old even. Who knows, man? Maybe I was too fat. Who knows? What the fuck? Who knows?
Too fat? Have you lost weight or something?
Yeah, I lost like 40 pounds.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
When? When did that happen?
Well, like 7 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know. I'm just saying. I think they had made a decision already and hired someone. And they were just, out of respect to the guys that were in the band, like, well, let's hear the guy.
Okay.
They were already there set up. So
did you want the gig?
I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not sure. I had work at the time. I think I was working with Larry Carlton at the time. So that would be one. I think the other one was Melissa Etheridge. Mm-hmm. And 2 guys had recommended me for that. They're, oh man, you'd be awesome for that. Well, I went there, and of course she wasn't there, and it was a video camera. So I had to record to video. Maybe she was watching it at home. I don't know.
It's on Skype.
Yeah, something like that. And so I didn't get that gig
just
either.
The band and the MD, that kind of thing?
Yeah. And they were really great, and I fucking nailed that gig. I mean, I nailed that, so I don't know. Who knows, man?
You never know why.
I think those were the two. No, you don't get like.
Yeah.
You don't
You
get
don't
that.
get notes. You know?
But every time I've been recommended, and by someone that's been around a while and been in that camp, that's it. You're in. They don't even audition you. Send a tape. I auditioned for Robbie Rosa. My friend Lyle Workman gave me a CD, and he goes, man, they're looking for a drummer, and I think you'd be awesome. So, and this was 2003, and I was out with Robin Ford. And when I came back, I went into audition at Phantom Box at the studio, and I had heard he had been through 30 different guys looking for someone, Latino guys, and some pretty big names too in that camp. And I went in, and again, it was like a video. I think there was video. It was video and 3 songs and Pro Tools. So, and I was already copping a toot about being recorded, to Pro Tools. Like, well, you can just walk away with me playing,
right,
and make a record with it. So I was like, nah, listen, man, I'm not going to play 3 songs. I'll play 1 song, and if you like it, and you give me the gig, I'll play some more. So I don't feel comfortable being recorded, and you keep, unless you delete everything, and I see you do it, and it doesn't get backed up on another drive, because people can make records with 10 minutes of you, a whole record. Mm-hmm. They can change, without changing the pitch, they can change the fucking tempo, and you can do anything. So they can make a whole record if you're playing 10 minutes on one track. Yeah. Anyway, so I was already hip to that, and it was bothering me that this is how people do it. And anyway, Rosa, so I got that gig that way, which is strange, because I even questioned it. I said, you can't find a drummer? Because I went back out with Robin, and they kept bothering me. Like, man, he really digs you. You should come back. So I said, why? You can't find someone in L.A. that's happening? I'm glad that I'm actually doing the gig. I'm glad that didn't bust it. That wasn't a deal breaker. But,
Right.
But yeah. No, so I don't know. Maybe I may be missing another gig somewhere that I didn't get. It's not like I get called every day for something, man. So, they're not like, your phone's not ringing off the hook like that. It's not how it works. Mm-hmm. Maybe a couple other things had happened. Yeah. Where someone just went, nah, you're not the right guy. Mm-hmm. And, I think some French dude, some big French singer.
Holiday?
I don't remember his name. Maybe one of those guys. But I had auditioned on Russ Kunkel's kit. And it was like a 26. Again, one of those things where I can't play, not with my traditional ass.
Did you get that from Russ? Did you know?
No. It was just there in some warehouse, and that's where they were holding auditions. And I went in there, and I played like 1 song, and the guy just goes, really? That's how you're going to play? I go, well, dude, the tom is 15 by 14, and it's a 26 inch. I can't reach it,
That's what you got, really? You got that?
Yeah, the
really?
guy goes, well, he was like, huh. He goes, yeah, you're pretty awkward looking, man. Typical French fuck saying that. Excuse me, the French out there. That's gonna. You might have to edit that.
Really? You think so?
Nah.
Is that offensive?
Fuck
I don't
the
know.
French, man.
Really? Who's listening?
No, fuck everybody.
If you're in
actually.
Paris listening, fuck you.
Everyone can fuck themselves.
That's more like it. Now we're getting somewhere.
Now we're getting somewhere.
It took a while, but now we're getting to the truth.
Yeah.
You were the house drummer on
Dennis Miller Show.
And
Roseanne.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But Dennis was first?
Yeah, Dennis was first. It was actually Chad Wackerman's gig, and Chad's a fucking just unbelievable musician. He had the gig with Doug Lunn, I was in a band with, a great bass player, great musician, Doug Lunn, and Chad, and they were in Andy Summers. It was Andy Summers' touring group post Police. I think David Goldblatt and Steve Tavoloni, and so I don't know who got that gig, for them, but Dennis Miller, total right-wing crazy fuck, was like, he's got this Channel 5, network, 11:30 every night, TV show. And
Was that political at all at that point?
He would find his way of...
He would squeeze it in?
Yeah, obscure references for, from what I remember. It was Chad's gig. It just starts, and then Chad lived down the street from here. In fact, I found him when he split he went to Australia for a while to raise his daughter, and he left the country, and he was selling his house, so I found him a buyer, Frank Briggs. You know Frank?
Yeah. So
I was responsible for Chad getting his house sold to a good guy, who's taking care of the house. Anyway, this was down the street from here. And Chad and I had become friends, and I looked up to Chad. I still do. I mean, I was always a fan. And, somehow I got called for it. Chad just said, "Oh, you can sub for me." Chad had to bail to do Alan Holdsworth. He had to do some 6-week tour as the Dennis Miller show's taken off, And so here's his first real money gig for Chad, and he goes out to do the art thing, to play with Alan and make little money and not sleep and not eat right and all that. But Chad...
It's what he wanted to do.
That's what he did. And lucky for me, I got in. I did about 6 weeks of it and played with all kinds of great people. And I got this great experience, having to read, and which I was really scared of. My reading's never been great, but it was a lot better then, 100% better then, because I would just see it all the time. So doing walk-ons and, a quick chart, and never a rehearsal, just maybe talking about something upstairs in the dressing room and go out and then you're live on TV. It was a really awesome experience. I played with Stephen Stills and Mel Torme and Buzu Chavez and, a bunch of people, on that show. And then at some point it became, the drum chair was just like, I think Bozio did it, and all these, it just turned into this thing where it was revolving, the drum chair.
Was that because you were busy, or
no,
they just decided for you?
Yeah, well, what happened is Andy Summers had a falling out with Dennis Miller.
Okay.
And so that band, that was done. That's it. Andy said, "Fuck you. I was in the police. I don't need your shit." And he got out. So the rest of the guys were looking for a guitar player / leader to front, the house band. And I did those auditions. I remember it was Carlos Rios, great guitar player. I think James Hara got the gig, LA guitar player, great player. And so at that point, they also changed the drum thing. So we're just going to keep it revolving until Chad gets back. And, Bozio did it. And so every week you'd tune in, it would be like the drummers of Letterman, it would be like that thing Letterman did with Neil Peart. And
right. Drum
kind of
solo
like that.
week.
Yeah, but it wasn't drum solos. But, So, yeah, I had done, I was lucky enough to do that, and it was awesome. And after that, So
you liked the experience, though? You liked it?
Oh, I loved it, man.
You would have stayed.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah. I'm a day job kind of guy. I mean, I like, at least in the daytime, having a place to go and be professional and do a pro job.
So you would have stuck with it to this day?
Man. Oh, sure. Mm-hmm. Sure. That stuff's, it's rare. It's rare. How many shows are successful? The Jimmy Kimmel show now is on its 12th year, maybe. Those guys are lucky they have that, and they all deserve it, of course. But you can't say that about, you basically, you're covered. You don't have to sweat some stuff,
Yeah, of course.
Insurance, Plus, it's a hang. You get to go. You get to be with a group of people. They become family. And
what about the Roseanne gig? Was that?
Yeah, that was. I think it was a cable show. It was awesome. She was incredible. We would rehearse at her house on Monday nights.
At her house.
At her house off Mulholland, and we would rehearse for some live things she wanted to do.
Oh, was it shot there at her house?
No, but
did she just like it?
She liked having musicians around.
Okay.
And we would do
who was the MD of
Sex
that?
Pistols, and You know, I think it was Les King, but then he had to bail, and I'm really sorry, I don't remember the other guy's name. I don't remember his name, but you know, she could never say my name. She'd just go, drummer, you know, do this, you know, and she'd come in with glasses and smoking a joint, you know, with dark glasses on, and she'd come in after we were there an hour or so.
Would she pass it around?
If you wanted to, but you know.
I just want to know if she was a selfish.
No, she was so generous all the way around, and super funny, crude, but you know, kind of out there.
Yeah.
Well, that's her thing, you know.
Yeah.
And so we did that show. I don't even remember how long.
I like how a musician is calling Roseanne crude.
Oh,
I like
totally.
That. See, that says it all.
She was out.
Yeah.
Totally out. But you know, I loved being with her. You know, she you know, picked me up in a limo once, and we did a couple of gigs at the Mint, and it was fun, man. You know, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how seriously, you know.
It's just a lot of guys I've talked to who've done this kind of thing. I don't know. They had bad experiences. They didn't really dig doing that kind of thing. So I just find it interesting.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. You had somewhere to be.
Mm-hmm.
It was union.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where you never ask about money. You don't even ask.
When they offer the gig, you never ask.
You never ask about. No, you know that's going to be union. Now today, I don't know. In those days, you didn't. Today, it would be different. Everything's a buyout. It might not be union. So today, you find a way to ask. Mm-hmm. You know, but it's not the first thing out of your mouth.
But because you get two shows.
Hey man, you want to do this gig? What does it pay? No, you're done. You know, you don't take that approach ever.
No.
Hey, what's the music like? What's the commitment? Can I hear some of the music? What's the commitment? Or just yes, yeah, it's a TV thing. I'm in. Let's check it out. But today you have to ask, because it could be some shitty deal where you have to do 13 tapings and they don't pay you. It's all on spec.
So you're saying today, if you got the call, that would be.
I would ask.
Yeah.
Today you have to ask. And, you know, how's the compensation? How's that going to work out? Is it union? Is it not union? Is there back-end money? Is it, you know, is it per day? Is it per week? Is it how many hours? You have to ask now. You know, how many hours are going to be there? Sometimes they want you there for 12 hours, you know. So you have to ask, you know.
Yeah. Having those two shows under your belt, is that, you know, do you get put on that list, so to speak, of...
You know, I think at one point I got called for what's his name, Rodriguez. Yeah, I got asked to do that.
Paul Rodriguez?
Yeah, Paul Rodriguez. And I had done, actually in this room, I had done an audition for Paul Rodriguez. The band did the audition here.
They came to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it just didn't pan out?
Not for this group.
Okay.
Maybe we wanted money. I don't remember. That's what it was. They didn't want to pay anybody until the show was picked up. So, you know, and so we had already said no to that, and they went and found some guys to do it.
They wanted to shoot a pilot.
Yeah. So they did it, you know, with some guys that just charged nothing, you know,
they want you
at
to do
first.
It on spec.
Yeah. Spec never get paid, you know.
No, exactly.
And then let's go back. I did not get the Roger Daltrey gig. That's the other one.
When was that?
About 3 years ago.
How'd you get that? How did the call even come?
Oh, how did it come? I don't remember how it came, but I put 3 guys together. They were looking for like a group, so and I think of the 3 guys that you know, the bass player, myself, and the keyboards, I think the only guy they kept was the bass player. In fact, I know they kept John Button. Great bass player. Cool guy. You know, I didn't get that gig. Again, it was the last day. They'd already heard a bunch of people. And I got a call from the manager. Well, first of all, Daltrey, we did, what were the tunes? I think Don't Get Fooled Again.
I was saying a bunch of Who tunes, right?
Great, man. It was awesome. And so, and I had shed that stuff for a month, you know, and I think they had already heard the guy they wanted. He was 22 years old, something like that. I was told I was too old.
Straight up?
Straight up.
After the audition?
Yep. After about a week later, I got a call. I didn't hear anything. And when I got a call, I said, well, what happened? You know, Daltrey had said to me on stage when we did it, he goes, hey, man, you got the Mooney slop together. So he dug it. So I thought, oh, man, this is going to work out. And so they said, you know, the manager called up and he said, you're too old.
Just straightforward.
Mm-hmm. Wow. We got this, I think he was 23, 24. Who knows if he's telling the truth or not? But that's the excuse they used. And so, yeah, that's another one I didn't get. And I actually thought I had that one. And that would have been fun for a minute, you know. Yeah.
It happens, man.
Oh, fuck yeah. Yeah.
Now, the other thing, you did play on the Larry Sanders.
Mm-hmm. Chad Wackerman recommended me for some TV stuff at that time. Same time Miller was going on. Two Stupid Dogs, Larry Sanders. So I was doing some TV.
It was like the theme song, though, right? To the Larry Sanders show.
Oh, no. The theme song was Chad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think. So I don't remember, man.
You were in that house band, though, on the show?
No.
So what did you do?
No, I just played on some cues.
Okay.
You know, for a certain episode.
Okay.
You know, and I still do, you know, I've done a few of those things. I've done some movies for Lyle Workman.
Sure.
And that's all it's been. I was in, I think I was in not the Traveling Wilburys. I was, what was that movie with Aerosmith and Willie Nelson and Country Bears? I was on screen for that, you know, and I did some of the soundtrack too, you know, and, you know, wait, what else did I do? Wait a minute. Man, I didn't write any of this stuff down. I don't keep a list anymore, but...
Yeah, it's a ton of shit, man.
Yeah, especially in the 90s, man. I was doing all kinds of stuff like that. You know, a lot of commercial stuff. Pepsi.
Jingles.
Yeah, jingles. Yeah, and then we started doing them here. You know, we did 3 tracks for Lyle Workman's score here last year. Burt Wonderstone.
Mm-hmm.
We did 3 of the stuff here, the rhythm tracks. You know, what else have we done here? Maybe a Dish Network thing. Yeah, we do stuff, you know, and it all goes out and it gets used and you kind of forget about it, you know, till you see a check once in a while. 30 cents, $10, special payments fund, you know. But it's cool. Right. My first big check was like Sarah Marshall. My first big residual was that movie Sarah Marshall.
Okay.
And so the special payments fund on that was pretty cool. It's like, oh, really?
Was it just because of days worked?
It was because of, you know, reuse. It was because, I guess it went to Netflix. That's when Netflix was starting to happen.
That's just the biggest film you'd worked on.
At that time, yeah. It had been viewed in, I don't know how many different DVD players,
sure.
You know, and the accounting was good, and there weren't that many guys in the band, you know. So like with Superman, for example, you know, maybe 14 drummers have to get paid and get reused, so plus the orchestra, plus, you know, everybody, so you're going to get a smaller special payments fund. You're still going to get one, and you're going to get it every year. It's like commission. It's like getting commission.
Residuals.
It's like getting commission on a rental property, you know, for 30 years, if that's the deal you strike, you know. But it's going to be less and less every year, you know. So, yeah.
Have you had to expand outside of music as far as business wise?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it was kind of thrown into my lap when my dad passed away. So, you know, I do manage. I have a property manager, but I oversee a couple of commercial properties in San Diego, and so, you know, I've been sued 3 times. By the city of San Diego. Definitely have had problems with tenants not paying, bailing, you know, and having to go after them.
This is what your dad did.
My dad had restaurants, but he also kept properties along the line.
A landlord.
Yeah. So I'm a landlord.
It's a pain in the ass.
But, you know, when you think, but it's also I'm grateful for it too. When I think about it, I was a landlord at 23 because I rented out every room in this house.
Yeah.
So it was a no-brainer. Oh yeah, well, this is what you do. I'm lucky enough to have a property here and be able to oversee stuff for the family.
Well, that's what I was thinking when you told me that. Like, if it was obvious, like the business sense has always been there.
On some level, man, yeah. You know, I mean,
and obviously, maybe you got it from your dad, or who, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's not what you make, but it's what you keep. You know, and so it's not like I've ever made that kind of six figures.
But you've never thrown it around either.
Not really, man. Not really. No.
Conservative.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, we eat. We cook a lot.
Yeah.
We cook a ton, so it's just the food's better, and I'm not saying it's cheaper, but it's a lot more fun and it's healthier.
Yeah.
You know, and I think overall, yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of restaurant bills are a waste. Like what? You know, I spent $10,000 eating out last year. That's stupid. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're traveling, it's different.
Right.
You have to do it.
Do you like touring?
Fuck yeah.
You do.
You have a place to be. You have a second chance to get it correct. It's life, you know, in a cocoon, basically. You don't see the water bill. You don't see the shit breaking. You're on a bus or with some guys. The only focus is the gig, really. It's like, well, we got to do this, and how can I make that song better tonight? Well, that section of that song sucks. I got to get to the drums and work that out. I got to talk to the guys. Yeah, you know, it becomes just about that, and it's about conquering. And it gets, you know, it gets barbaric too. I mean, you know, you're a drummer, man. So it gets to where you're just beating the shit out of stuff and you're sweating and it's all good. It's all great fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in a sense of accomplishment, and the fans are awesome. You know, and when you can look out and see people, you know, you're moving a couple people, it's awesome, man.
Does a long run scare you or no?
A long run? I mean, 3 months is about the most I've done. That gets a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, if you get a call tomorrow, let's just, you know.
I'd bail. Yeah. Depends on
who. Right, but if you dug it and they were saying, look, we're looking at 5 to 6 months at this point, no problem.
No problem. Yeah. Again, it would depend on the music and the conditions. I'm not going to do 3 people in a van, you know, or 20 people on one bus. I'm not going to do that, but and, you know, and typically it's not that anymore. So it's, you know, the runs are like 4 weeks. You come home, you know, that's like the most it would be anymore. I mean, you come home for a couple days or a week, and then you go out again, you know.
Yeah, it's true.
But you don't, you know, you definitely are not sleeping. You know, they're booking you on cheap flights, which means the 5:30 or 6 a.m. flight. Gig's done at 2, so you get the drift. So it's a lot of, well, you're wound up.
Yeah.
So let's have a few drinks, and you don't even see a bed. You don't see that room except for when you checked in to throw your bag. You know, and you went right to sound check, and you came back, and you maybe you copped a little nap, maybe not. So you know, you look different after a couple of weeks of that. You know.
That's the thing. How do you keep up physically? What do you do?
You know, I just try to eat right, man, and I try to sweat. I try to walk an hour in any city, an hour or 2 or more. And, you know, stretch out, some push-ups and sit-ups on, I think, every hotel room floor, dirty or not. Towel goes down, and sit-ups and push-ups go down, and a walk happens at some point in any city. You know, I don't care where it is, whether it's Palermo in Sicily or, you know, or if it's in Brussels, I mean, wherever, or in Buenos Aires just the other month we were there, and we all get out. Sometimes the whole group will get out, walk, and it's awesome. That part of it. And you know, and then if you can cop a nap, I like to take a nap right before I go on, like, so it can be backstage somewhere, like 20-minute nap just to close your eyes, maybe get your feet up high above your chest, and I can go out and play with a ton of energy, and it's awesome.
So it's not so much about the warm-up, it's more like you'd rather hit the nap. And
well, I mean, typically you have a sound check.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Yeah, but do I work out on a pad? Yeah, like 10 minutes, you know. I mean, I'd love to get to the drums an hour a day before the crew gets there. But that doesn't happen. Nobody wants to hear it. You got other guys, nobody wants to hear. Like, what the fuck are you doing? We got to position the lights. We got to, tune the room out, and and then by the time the artist shows up, it's already an hour to doors, and you know the drill, right? Mm-hmm. And so we just got to run a couple songs, and you're out of there. Then there's always a 2-hour dinner somewhere, which I've never dug. Like, how can you eat like that and then go on? So I usually blow that off and find something else to eat, and
Right. Get some alone time.
Yeah. Maybe review something with my computer or something. Maybe check out some music. Get inspired. Stretch out a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to stay. I think on the road you just have to keep your energy together. For the show. So. You just have to find a way to do. As a drummer, you have to do, especially at my age now. So it's getting to the point where,
You feel it? It's getting different?
Mm-hmm. Yep. 49, man. I'll be 50 in 2 weeks. Yeah. But we're lucky, man. We're super lucky we have music, I think we all look pretty good for old farts.
You don't look a day over 45.
Well, thank you. Yeah. So, yeah.
Right on, man.
I think we've said enough, right?
Pretty
Most
good.
of this shit's boring anyway. I mean, every drummer has a story, and
I suppose, yeah.
Mine's not any more special than anybody else. I mean, I could think of, if you can get Jim Keltner, I'd love to hear that one. There you go.
Can you get me Jim Keltner?
I can try to get you Jim Keltner. Yeah.
Because that would help.
Yeah, you got to get Jim Keltner.
I'd love to get Jim Keltner.
There's a story.
But let's be honest. How many hours would be sufficient? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I did 3 hours with Hal Blaine.
Wow.
And it's like, just feel like it's the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
You could do a week with that guy.
Right.
And not get it all.
Yeah.
And I feel like with Keltner.
Have you had James Gatson?
I've had James Gatson.
Oh, fuck. That's awesome. Zigaboo?
No. Where does he live?
Oakland.
Okay.
And
does he come down, though?
Yeah. He stays here sometimes.
See, that would be fucking hot.
Yeah. I could ask Zig. Zig
would be cool.
Zig's got a lot to say. On many levels.
Yeah.
On many levels. Business.
Yeah.
Relationships.
He's seen it all.
He's seen it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, just the relationship between 4 guys in a band and shit going south.
Well, yeah.
And segregation.
Yeah.
Being in a band that toured with the Stones, being in Ronnie Wood's band, being in Keith's band,
You got some stories.
Yeah. Well, he's very diplomatic. He's a super sharp guy, and he's a gentleman, and
right.
But he's a blast, man, and he's just one of the great innovators, behind.
And you have him in here, by the way, shedding. You do that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll come here and stay. Yeah. I set up. I'm his tech when he comes to town.
Right.
He borrows my drums. I set him up, and he comes out, and we barbecue. And,
so you've done that where you just?
Oh yeah, we've recorded him here. Oh yeah.
Where you're just like, show me this, show me that?
No.
Not that.
No, like he says, he goes, I could show you, but he goes, anybody could do it, but I'm not going to show you. That's what he says to me. He goes, hey man, yeah, anybody could do that.
Does he read, by the way?
No, I don't think he reads. He may read a little.
Can he articulate what he's doing, or he's not that?
Yeah.
He can.
Oh yeah, but I mean, not like, oh, this is a double here and a paradiddle.
Right.
No, not like that. He articulates in a much better way, and in a much more succinct way, which is, he talks about the history of something and the lineage. Oh, this came from this Indian tribe, and the cowbell part that goes with the Chapatula Indians that did this, or the Mardi Gras Indians, and that would be the bass drum part. So when you just do your own homework based on that information, that's way better than that's a double and that's a single, and
Yeah.
he gives you the life behind that stuff.
And he's still your guy, would you say? He was for you? Is he the guy?
He blows me away. Just when I think I've seen it and heard it all, you go hear him in a club. If you go hear him live, and I was with James Gatson, Luis Conte, Jonathan Moffett, I don't know who else. Bunch of drummers, great drummers, legendary guys. and we're all next to Zig. He's like 5 feet from us, and he blew all of us away. All those guys were like, "That is the fucking shit, man. Did you just hear that? Did you feel that? Holy shit." It's definitely spiritual, much like when you would see Elvin, much like when you'd see DeJohnette. But really, I just think of a funky Elvin Jones. If Elvin could play a backbeat like that, you'd have the same guy. And Zig sings everything, He sang most of the meter songs. A lot of them anyway, and he sings and plays drums, and it's bitchin'. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So, and I think I've absorbed a lot of Zig. I've listened to him, I've been around him, and I've been in the same room with him. We've definitely double drummed, and it's awesome, man. And it's natural. Thing is, it's natural. Natural musicians is where you want to study.
Yeah.
You want to study from a natural musician. Folk musicians, or just folk people, village people that can play an instrument, that's where all the information is, really. That's where the real deal is. I'm saying it, in any culture, if you go to villages and you hear somebody in South America play a cowbell, and it's a guy that works on cars in the daytime, at night he might play the cowbell, in some ensemble. And he doesn't know what he's doing, but he can play that one thing. I mean, that's where you want to learn cowbell from. You don't want to learn it from a multi-instrumentalist, studied cat. I don't think you would. Right. You learn folk music, but I'm saying you're going to get it all from these guys.
Yeah.
That's all you need to play, really. Yeah. And then you can add to it later, but that's the feel you want, and that's the pattern, and that's usually when you see someone play a waltz, or a tango, or any kind of merengue, any kind of salsa thing, any kind of samba thing, any kind of rock thing. You want to go to the grunge. You want to. That's where it all. It comes from that. I think. That's where the best stuff comes from. It's the most natural. It's real, but it's got it all, really. The unschooled guys really are. That's where you learn shit. It's just gone. It's so crazy how far it's gone. It's through the roof. The extreme drumming thing is out of control.
Right.
And I look up to it. Man, I saw this kid last night online. My engineer told me, you got to check out this guy that's playing with 9 Inch Nails. And I what the fuck?
Yeah.
Elon? Oh my God. Yeah. Now here's a guy who's got a lot of, buco chops through the roof. But, man, I got a feel from this guy that blew me away. And he hit the shit, he just beat the shit out of him. That guy blew me away. I guess he won a Guitar Center drum off, and then Trent Reznor called him and said, you got to be in this band. And you got to be in 9 Inch Nails. Awesome. That's my new guy. I just saw him last night. And I'm going to go check it out later again, too, because he blew me away. I want to make sure it wasn't the scotch talking. Let's end.
Let's get some scotch. Toss.
I'll get scotch.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me, man.
Thanks, man.
It's
Thank
cool.
you.
I did that. What? Do it.